Welcome to The World Awaits.
Travel tales to inspire your wanderlust.
I'm Kirstie Bedford, journalist, editor and travel writer.
And I'm Belinda Jackson, author, travel journalist and columnist, and we're your weekly co-hosts.
Welcome back, everyone. How's your week been, Val?
Oh, it's been awesome. I've been down the Wellington Peninsula this weekend. I'd like to say it felt like summer is finally here, but it rained the whole time, so it's So, yeah, sorry to break it to you. Next weekend, I'll give it another crack. Well, this is our final episode for this season before we dive into our summer series. So you'll still hear us on the airwaves. So stay tuned until the end of this episode to hear about what we've got in store for you over summer and beyond. First up, it's my turn to grill Kirstie about her cruise with MSC earlier this year from Copenhagen to Norway. Cruising has absolutely boomed post-2019 to levels we've never seen before. So many of you may be considering hitting the sea roads. So Kirstie, tell us a bit about why you think cruising's so popular and who's actually getting on the ships.
Well, it's changing. So there's definitely no doubt that cruising is booming and it is driven by demand and that demographic, it's changing a lot. So cruise lines are now actually stepping up to meet the demand, and there are like Michelin star chefs on board and multiple dining options, wellness entire floors. Well, they're not really floors, decks. Theatres, shopping and exclusive excursions, and then usually on the top deck there's usually multiple slides for the kids. So to answer your first question, from talking to those in the industry and fellow cruisers that I was with, it's becoming increasingly popular because of ease. So I actually did a little survey. So I was asking people about this because I was really intrigued too. And lots of people were saying that the reason that they do it is because you hop on and then you unpack your suitcase once, and then you can visit multiple countries. So, and you don't even have to produce your passport. So it's just the ease of it, the ability to not have to drag bags through the airport. And then the types of people choosing has also changed. So when we were on board the MSC Riviera, well, there were definitely still, a large number of people who were sort of 50 plus. I was surprised actually at the number of younger couples were there, especially because we were actually going to Norway in sort of end of September, early October. So, and the weather wasn't amazing. So I would have thought maybe take the kids on a cruise to the Mediterranean or something, where they're just, always out doing water sports and up on slides and things. But I guess there was an indoor pool. So, and also people with young couples with young kids, I guess they still see it as, an opportunity to do what they want to do. And there's, again, the ease of having a child with you because they have kids clubs on board. So,
I love a kids club. Oh, God. Kids clubs were sent for people like us, right? But then, so what was the thing that surprised you most about this cruise?
So I have to say I was actually quite surprised at the facilities. I mean, you see, and hear about, and I've written about cruise obviously for a long time. And so I'm aware of the facilities that they're saying are on board. But when you're actually on board yourself, it's really amazing. Like there was all these big screens and you just go up and you just press a button and you just book a different theatre every night, just touch of a button. And if you've got kids, they had like an aqua park with 3 slides, and they even had a car racing virtual simulator. I couldn't believe this. We went up to the level with all the kids' stuff, and they had this entire room with a racing car in it, and then there were indoor courts so you can play netball or basketball, and they can use it for gym classes. So there's just so much to do. And I was also really surprised about this particular ship we were on because it was just so beautifully designed. Like, it was like walking around a 5-star resort. So they had like a shopping arcade area with all these beautiful boutique stores. And there were actually 61,000 Swarovski crystals embedded into the staircases. So it was just really beautiful. And then there are 10 dining venues and there was a gym. And the cruise I was on had a spa with 22 treatment rooms. I mean, can you believe that, actually on a boat? I know. And then in addition to that, they had a European bathhouse and a Himalayan salt relaxation room. So when I walked in there, it was like you just forget that you're actually, I mean, apart from the slight sway, but you just sort of forget that you're even on a cruise. So I think that's what makes it so appealing for why the demographic is changing a lot too, because, for multi-gen families, all of those things I mentioned above, obviously there's something for everyone. So it's like being in a resort, and probably why obviously a lot of people who hadn't even considered cruising are now looking into it. So and the other thing that really surprised me was actually the caliber of those theatre shows. So I sort of went along thinking, it's going to be, well, I don't really know what I expected, but I certainly didn't expect the level of the sort of world-class level of shows that we were seeing. So we went to one called Circus 1920, which was a nod to sort of the bygone era of circus. And the costumes and the lighting and the way the people performed and the professionalism, the acrobats, and they had, a strong man with a knife. But it wasn't tacky. It was really professional. And I think that's sort of, cruise ships can't really afford to scrimp anymore on these things. There's an expectation from the level of cuisine, the sort of cuisine down to, the theatre and the facilities that this is why I think cruising is now just continuing to be such demand.
Well, that's really interesting to hear about that it's lifted so much. I remember the first cruise I went on, which was up the Queensland coast. We had a karaoke night. And the entertainment was people like me who got up and did a little number.
Look, I think it does depend on obviously the cruise line that you're going with and the sort of cruise that you do. But actually, obviously, over time, cruising's drastically changed in the last decade. So, yeah.
No, amazing. I mean, European bathhouse, that just sounds, I would just, I'd be in there steaming myself into oblivion. But let me play devil's advocate here. What if you are one of those people that doesn't like sea days? I don't understand this myself, because a day at sea is a day at leisure, and you don't have to get up, you don't have to feel obliged to go and do things and stuff. And you can explore all of those facilities. I remember I've done Zumba classes and, yoga first thing in the morning, and all of those are the things that you don't really have time to do, or because they're only 5 minutes walk from your cabin, as opposed to having to drive across town, to do a 9 a.m. Zumba class. But that was my choices. But if you were somebody that didn't like sea days, what do you do here?
Well, to be honest, I mean, I did do a gym class and I also did have spa treatment. But to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of sea days, just because a number of reasons. But I like to be out and about doing something, and also I prefer to sort of be able to see land. But which isn't always the case when you're in the middle of the North Sea. But look. To be honest, I think that's actually the blessing of a cruise, because from those I met, they sort of did say, as I did mention earlier, that the joy of cruising is that you can actually experience multiple countries without having to drag your bags around. So you can just sort of hop on and hop off. And so if you don't like sea days, obviously look into the type of cruise you're taking and make sure you know how many sea days there are. But we went from Copenhagen to Norway and Germany and then back to Copenhagen, and we didn't even have to show our passports. So you pull into port, and this is one thing that really surprised me is, we went to bed and just woke up the next day and flung back the curtain, and here you are surrounded by these incredible fjords with plunging waterfalls and little villages just, in the middle of these stunning fjords and the tiny little villages, and you're on this huge cruise ship. And I just sort of thought, wow, like, one, how do these ships even get into these ports? And secondly, the fact you can just hop on and hop off and off you go on your excursion. So the other thing is you don't actually have to do the actual ship excursion. So there are pros and cons to doing the cruise lines excursions. So, for instance, if you do them, the great thing about it is, we would arrive in these beautiful ports, and then there's buses waiting for you, and so you just hop off with show your tag, that you've got that you're given when you first board. No passport or anything. Off you hop, away you go. Jump on the bus or the awaiting little minivan or whatever it is that's taking you, and away you go. So you just have to also, the other benefit of going on a cruise excursion is that they can guarantee that you can get back before the ship departs, because I don't know if I didn't realise this, but Elisa from MSC was telling us that they can't wait because they face massive fines if they hang around. So if you miss if your cruise ship has to depart the port, which is why they're only in port for a certain amount of time, and you miss it, you have to meet them at the next port, and that could be in another country.
Do you want me to share that I actually got slow clapped onto a cruise ship once because we were the last people on there.
Well, why doesn't that surprise me, Belle?
In time. I was so untimed. But I got a taxi driver, and this was in Fiji, so, it's not a giant pivot, but he got lost going to the cruise ship. And so I had, Desmond was only about 3 at the time. It was a small ship and stuff, but as I was walking back on, they slow clapped us, and it was embarrassing. Most embarrassing thing. I can't remember even facing it.
There were people running when we were on, to the horns, to the cruise ship's horns going, and there's people like wait for me. You see them bolting it towards. But
I've done that. But someone's got to be last.
Yeah, well,
it's got to be last.
There's a difference between being last and missing the actual boat. But yes.
But it is an icebreaker because after that, everybody kept going, weren't you the person that's the last one to the boat? And I'm like, do you want to talk to me? Or
that's that woman with the red lipstick, the one that was last.
Insulting.
So the cons of going. So those were the pros of going with the cruise line. They're just easy, and they make sure you get back on time. The cons are obviously if you're like Belle and you get a terrible taxi driver and you're late, but also are actually the crowd. So sometimes these there are a lot of people booking the same excursion as you because sometimes they might book something really popular like the Flam Railway, and so it's going to be busy. So you have to be prepared for the fact that there will be a lot of people with you. There could be a number of buses. You're all getting off at the same time. Cruise lines are increasingly moving away from this, and this is something we're seeing, obviously, which is a massive trend in travel generally. It's just moving away from going to places that are overcrowded. But you can make smart options. So we chose a glacier hike, which it was really good because there were only a couple of buses going, and when we got there, we just walked at our own pace. So even though my husband's competitive and he wanted to be the first to the top, but you basically, you can go at your own pace and do your own thing, and that so that's one of the cons.
What did you love most about the excursions and or the countries that you visited? What was the standout and what?
Oh my gosh, Norway! Oh, I tell you, that place is just. I really didn't expect it to have such an impact on me, and it will always have a piece of my heart. And I really don't say that lightly. I just had no idea how beautiful it was, and it's one of those places that has to be seen to be believed because of the scale of the fjords. I just didn't expect. And we went to 3 different ports and those 3 different villages and places, and I just did not expect to have just the beauty of it, and just to feel so humbled by the scale of it. And everywhere you go, there are just tumbling waterfalls, and not even just 1 or 2. Like we were on a bus trip from Halifax to Bristol Glacier, and I started counting waterfalls and just had to give up because there were just plunging waterfall after plunging waterfall, and these incredible little quaint villages, and that sort of what you expect, the sort of in photographs of Norway with those stunning little red houses with grass growing on the roofs and waterfalls just flowing behind them, and this verdant countryside, and just everything that you expect, but it just exceeded my expectations seeing it in person. So if there was ever an epitome of picture perfect, Norway definitely wins.
What advice would you give to somebody who hasn't been on a cruise before?
Okay, so I did mention some of this before, but definitely consider how many at-sea days there are and if you're up for it. So if you are like Bill and you're happy to swan around in the European bathhouse, do the odd excursion where you're running late, then you're never going to live that one down now. Then
I'm okay with that. I love my own the badge of pride. The badge of pride, woman.
Then consider the sea days, because I have also been on another cruise where the sea days were very rocky and we didn't have Wi-Fi, and everyone was violently ill on the smaller boat. And, it wasn't pleasant. So this trip, I have to say, was luckily it wasn't rocky, and we only had a few sea days, and so it made it much more enjoyable, because you can sit down and have a meal, and like you see, like I was saying before, you can go and have a spa, and I went and enjoyed the gym, and I wasn't, being thrown around the room. So consider that, and also consider the cruise ship size, because how many people do you want to be around you? I mean, a lot of these cruise ships, the one we were on had capacity for about 6,000 people, but you would never have known there were that many people on board.
How many were on board when you were on?
There were, I think, including staff, there were about 6,000. That was a capacity, but you wouldn't know that when you were on there. And I think that's the thing. You have to consider, the ship itself and what it has available to you. And also bear in mind, a lot of the restaurants are actually specialty restaurants. So often when the packages are often inclusive, but they don't often include specialty restaurants. And so you're going to have to dine at the buffet some of the time with a lot of other people. So just go over your package carefully, and there are lots of options. So you want to make sure that you're aware what you're getting. And excursions are really expensive. So make sure that maybe consider pre-booking some of your own. So you don't obviously have to do like I was saying before, the excursions on the actual cruise, although I do recommend those. I think it's a great way to do it. Just consider which ones you do. But you can also, if you might be able to want to do one and book one yourself, where you can do, if it's just a bike ride around a town or something, you can do that with anybody. But the only thing is, you can't guarantee. So if you do it through the cruise ship, obviously if something happens and you don't get to that port, it's much easier to get your money back or transfer it to something else. Whereas if you do it externally, just bear in mind that you might not be able to get your money back. And if the weather permitting, you can't do it for some reason. If it's pouring with rain and they're not taking the bikes out, so it's definitely worth considering that. And then I would say, just get out and experience as much as you can, because if you're visiting places you haven't been, to me, that's the whole adventure. Like, eat the food, talk to the locals, see everything you can. And I love walking and biking, because I feel like you get to see a lot more. You feel more like a local. You might end up going to places that, a little bit off the beaten path and you just feel like you really get to know a place. So, I think that's definitely the way to go.
You're listening to The World Awaits. We'd love it if you could leave us a rating and review on your favourite podcast platform.
This week, I'm chatting to author, travel writer and speaker Laura Waters about how she walked the length of New Zealand in a life-changing experience that led to her quitting her corporate job and writing her travel memoir, Bewildered. Welcome to the show, Laura.
Thanks very much. Great to be here.
So good to have you on. So let's start by tell us a little bit about how you came to get into travel and specifically hiking.
Yeah, I guess I'd always had an interest in nature. And when I grew up as a kid, our family would always go for Sunday hikes out in the bush, but they were just, an hour or 2 hours long. And it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I did my first overnight hike, actually. And a friend sort of walked me through how to pack a tent and a pack and everything and set out. So that was cool. But things really ramped up 10 years ago, actually. It's 10 years ago to the month that I decided to hike the whole length of New Zealand, 3,000 kilometres from top to bottom. And so that took 5 months. And that was obviously a big game changer for me.
So tell us about what you were doing before then and what your career sort of trajectory has been. And and then we'll go into specifically what happened in New Zealand.
Yeah, so I was actually working as an executive assistant to a CEO for 10 years, and I had long service leave. And so for years, I'd always been thinking, there's got to be more to life than this. I was not overly fulfilled with, being in a box in the city, even though, on face value, it was a good job and a good life. But I was just thinking there's got to be more to life. And I was reading in a hiking magazine about this new trail that had opened, Te Araroa. And I immediately thought, that's it. That's for me. That's what I want to do. So I set out with a girlfriend, and she pulled out on the second day. So I just thought, well, I'm here now. I'll just give it a go and see how far I get. So, yeah, I started walking, and just the process of facing all of those challenges, and there are a lot of challenges hiking in New Zealand, unbridged river crossings and wild weather and steep exposed terrain. So in facing those challenges and succeeding, it sort of gave me a lot of confidence when I came back. And so that led me to quitting my corporate job when I came back and chasing my childhood dream to be a writer, which is now what I do now.
So what happened, or what do you think was the pivotal moment, or was there one, or was it just the whole thing in its entirety in New Zealand that kind of made you, because you were going through, had you been through a relationship breakup, or you were,
Yeah, just to keep things extra challenging. I'd just come out of a pretty unhealthy relationship and was suffering a kind of PTSD type anxiety and depression. So I was not in a great headspace before I started, really not functioning well at life, and just like a kind of curled up in a ball on the bed half the time in tears for no reason. So I headed out on this trail, and I hoped that, being in nature would fix me, but I really didn't have any idea just how much it would. And it really only took, after suffering these symptoms for well over a year, it only took about 3 or 4 weeks on the trail where I sort of realized, wait a minute, I feel okay now. And that's, it was kind of unexpected, but fantastic. And I really felt like nature was sort of healing me and building me up. And just when you're out in the wilds for 5 months and there's no media, no advertising, no makeup, no mirrors, you've got one outfit, one bag of belongings, I've never been happier than I was with just the sole task of just walking every day. That was it was fantastic. So in that simplicity, my whole identity just fell away, really. I had nothing to remind me of who I was, no familiar job, no familiar possessions, relationships, everything was gone. So I just kind of stripped myself bare and started again when I got home. And just in that space, I sort of had time to think, well, what do I really want out of my life, and what do I want to do? And while I was out there on the trail, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I just had the epiphany that I had choices, and I didn't have to go back to that normal life that I had before if I didn't want to. And so just knowing that actually freed up a lot of headspace for me to know that I was in control of my life.
Did you do a lot of training beforehand?
I did. I worked with a physio for about 8 months beforehand to strengthen my knees, because I had notoriously bad knees. So I did do a lot of physical training. For about 3 weeks before the trip, I walked an hour to work each day and an hour home. And then for the last month of that, I carried my fully loaded backpack as well, much to the amusement of everybody in the corporate offices in Melbourne. But so I did that. And I think you really get most of your fitness on the trail. So nothing can prepare you for walking 8 hours a day, 6 days a week, unless you're actually doing that. But I think the biggest thing you need is a strong mind. If you've got that mental strength, that's what's the most important thing. And fortunately, I'm pretty good at that. I'm pretty good at sucking up the pain and pushing on.
And what was a place maybe in particular in New Zealand when you were hiking that really surprised you, or that you found,
was not what you expected?
Not what I expected. I guess when I first hit the South Island, like I walked the North Island, which is a lot of tangled forests and beaches, challenging in its own ways. But when you hit the South Island and you know you're going to be following the Alps for months, like that sits in your mind as being quite scary. But when I first arrived in the South Island, the sun was out and there was dolphins swimming in the water and there was a killer whale offshore and glowworms and birds. And I was like, this is cool. Of course, that soft welcome didn't last too long, and I ended up getting caught in snowstorms and snowed in a hut for 3 days in summer. But yeah, you just, a lot of the time in life we get this fixed idea of what we expect something to be, and the reality is often very different. So there were definitely challenges, but there were also, a lot of realizations that things are different to what you expect sometimes, and to just take things as they come. And that really helped in life when I try now not to worry about things that I don't know about. And this is something we do a lot. We tend to worry about the unknown, but now I just try and get myself as prepared as I can and head into something and tackle the challenges as they come up.
And this hike really set you up as as the go-to and an expert sort of for your travel writing. And you wrote some books as well. So tell us, were you thinking while you were on the walk, hey, maybe I'll write about this, or was that just a subsequent?
Absolutely, yeah. Before I went, I knew I wanted to write a book about it, even though I knew nothing about writing. But when I was a child, I remember wanting to write a book, and I thought, well, now I've got something to write about. And even if no one but my friends and family read it, I just want to tick that box. So when I came back, I quit the corporate job and bought myself a laptop, headed to the Solomon Islands to just switch off for a few months and started writing. And I started also writing for outdoor magazines at the time, writing about my outdoor adventures. And I should also preface that for about a decade before, I'd wanted to be a travel writer too. So I just kind of took the courage that I learned on my hike into this new career, and I just thought I'll just give it a go. And, I joke now, but if I ever thought that hiking the length of a country required grit, stamina and determination, it was nothing compared to writing a book about it. It was, it's just like a massive learning process. I'd be a lot quicker now, but when I first wrote it, it was challenging. But now I'm a full-time travel writer, and I've written 2 books. So my first book, Bewildered, about hiking the length of New Zealand, I actually won Best Travel Book for that in 2021. And last year I had Ultimate Walks and Hikes Australia come out. So dream realised, childhood dream realised.
Fantastic. And we will put links to both of those in the show notes. So tell us a bit about, let's talk about then, you've gone on to do lots of other hikes. What are some of the places that you think, or what are some of the most incredible hikes that you've done, and what are some of the places that, the most remarkable places that you've been to, or some places that people can follow in your footsteps?
I really have my goal when I go hiking is to really get off the grid. And if I don't see a lot of other people and I see a lot of wildlife, that's a great hike for me. I like to go to places where I can just turn the brain off. So a favourite walk of mine in Australia, well, the absolute favourite is the Larapinta Trail in the outback from Alice Springs to Mount Zonda. There's just a real energy in the outback. You can just really sense that timelessness and the space. It's a very weird feeling, but it's a beautiful feeling, and you feel like your whole psyche just slows down, and I think you feel connected to the energy of the centre. A favourite one in Victoria is probably the Great Southwest Walk, which kind of flies under the radar a little bit. It's I think it's about a 250 kilometre loop, but you can do it in sections in Western Victoria. And it's a great one for wildlife. I think the last time I did it, I saw more koalas than I did other people hike it the trail. So that's super cool. And then New Zealand obviously has a special place in my heart, and you can literally just drop a pin on a map anywhere in New Zealand and there'll be an epic trail there. So my favorite thing is to just get it like a 6-month backcountry hut pass and just, check out the maps, and like pretty much guaranteed every walk, every trail, no matter how minor, is going to be spectacular. I love it.
As a Kiwi, I can vouch for that.
Yes. I don't need to tell you. Yeah.
So what's next for you as far as both, your career as a travel writer? I mean, you're multi-award winning, and what's next for you? And also, and obviously, you'll just keep building on your book, and hopefully that'll just keep being republished every year.
Yeah, hopefully. So I really want to. I do a lot of public speaking now, but I want to sort of take that to next level in the coming year. And I'm really quite passionate about helping. I get a lot of people comment on my book and contact me and say how it's really helped them make changes in their life, or that it's changed their life, or it's given them the courage to do something. So I know it has that message and that story has an effect on people. So I'd like to take that to a larger scale and talk to people about, the power of trying, because none of all of the amazing experiences I've had in the last 10 years would have happened if I hadn't done that walk. And if my friend hadn't agreed to come with me, I probably wouldn't have even tried. So, but by getting on the trail and just taking that first step leads to the next step and the next step. And, by facing challenges and just trying, amazing things can happen. I've written 2 books. I've become a full-time travel writer for major national papers and magazines. I host film festivals around the country every year, about 30 film festivals. So crazy stuff that I never would have thought was possible. But if you just try, amazing things can happen. So I'd like to try and share that message with people.
And it's such a great message. You just have such a remarkable journey and story to tell. I mean, who goes from being an executive assistant to doing, like you said, like all those things that you're now doing, like what a transformation. And it really does take courage and bravery to take that leap, particularly, financially as well. So, and I know you moved home even for a little while because to make this all work. So it hasn't come easy. And I think that's an important message for people to know that, you put the hard yards in. So, yeah, an incredible message. And thank you so much, Laura. It's been so great talking to you. We end all of our interviews with this question. What's the most bizarre thing that's happened to you on your travels?
Last year I was on the Rocky Mountaineer train in Colorado for 2 days. It was a new fancy train between Denver in Colorado and Moab in Utah. And I was on there, and there was a camera crew from the UK, and they were filming one of those world's most scenic railway journeys episodes. And I ended up being on there. So I got interviewed, and I now saw myself on the telly. Yeah, so that was a bit of a surprise.
Oh gosh, another one to add to the to add to the long success list. Well, thanks so much, Laura. It's been so great chatting, and I can't wait to watch and see what you do next.
Well, Laura is so inspiring, and Bewildered is a magnificent read. If you want to get hold of any of her books, go to her website, which is soultrekkers.com.au. So instead of our tip this week, we're going to give you a little insight into our summer plans, which for me involves the Mornington Peninsula and for Kirstie involves Phillip Island. But our third plan is the new show that will air in our summer series, where you'll get to hear some of the most bizarre travel moments from all of those people we've interviewed since we launched the World Awaits podcast. So in case there are any new listeners out there, at the end of every interview, we ask our interviewees, what's the most bizarre thing that happened to your travels? And we have some absolute classics.
Yes, we do. People being shot at, clouds vomiting on cruise ships, safari vehicles breaking down and people running across live game parks, breasts being manhandled.
Oh, that one was awesome.
And we're also going to do a little summer debate of the best holiday spots in Victoria, which we mentioned earlier, a little bit about where we're going, so you'll know the regions we're going to be debating about. And you'll also be able to listen to some of our most popular interviews, providing a big dose of travel inspo for planning your travels next year.
So we'll be packing up some of our favourites, including Italy, because we love everything about Italy, some of our biggest names, you know, a couple of those really great tours that from people we've been talking to over the past 6 months to inspire your wanderlust. And then next year, we're back with a slightly retweaked format. So we'll still have advice and tips, but instead of 2 interviews, we're going to focus on one so that we can take the time to just go a little deeper and ensure that you are picking up so much more knowledge about the places and the people that we're talking to.
And that's going to start with the incredible Andrew Conway, who's going to be talking about his cruises to the polar regions and what you can do to ensure you don't contribute to the demise of these fragile regions when you go.
And I think that's so important. I cannot wait to hear what Andrew's got to share. Now, my interview this week is bringing him back. It's Alistair Leith, who is our entertainment and travel writer, and we are chatting about the best travel gifts for Christmas. Okay, everybody, hold onto your pants. Christmas is here, or just about, around the corner. We've decided to round up some fantastic, some of our favourite things that we love for Christmas. Basically, these are the things that we want to see under the tree, right? So with me, I've got Alistair, our entertainment and travel writer.
Hey, Vel, thanks so much for having me back on.
No, it's always great to have you here. And I think especially with this sort of stuff, you have some really great ideas. And we've done a bit of a cross-check of each other's lists, you know, and also trying to find out who's been naughty and nice. But you always bring some really cool ideas to the table. And all of these things, I think, can be ordered online, which means you get on there today and you might get them before Christmas. So drum roll for our Christmas wish list. Top of your list, Alistair.
All right, so this one is headphones. I know everyone has headphones, everyone has AirPods,
I know, but
and
then
all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But when you're traveling, you want noise cancellation, right? You want to sit on a plane, you want to drown out your own children or other people's children, and you want the best sound you can get along with that isolation. The problem is that isolation often comes with a $500 price point.
Yeah.
And cost of living crisis, that's not always feasible to get. Fortunately, there is a company called Soundcore. They've brought out their first pair of noise-cancelling headphones called Space One, and they retail for $149.99. I was fortunate enough to review these earlier in the year, and they're very, very comfortable, and then noise cancelling is up there with Bose and Sony among the best.
Oh, so it's Soundcore, so Sound Core, is that right?
Soundcore, yes.
Right. Okay.
C-O-R.
Are they in ear or are they what sort of headphones?
No, so yeah, these are over ear.
Oh, wow.
The cushion is quite comfortable, and it does have high res sound as well, which will, give you a really good quality. And there's 5 different levels of noise cancellation on there. So if you do have to keep an ear out for, a hungry teenager or a crying child, there is that option. Still allow
any of those things. It's like, flight announcements, that's what I'd be listening out for.
Yeah.
Or when they're calling your name at the gate, that's the other thing too. So that sounds like an amazing one. I'm definitely going to check them out because I do use Bose and they're fantastic. And I have a little, like a pair of earbuds that just tuck into my back pocket. But sometimes, they don't give you the full immersion that I reckon over-ear stuff does. Is that okay?
They also, and this, I know you'll like this, they don't just come in black. There is about 5 different colors. I have the bright blue ones and they're absolutely beautiful. They come with a carry bag, so it's easy to just throw in your carry-on. This is definitely, I think, my favorite of this year.
Oh, Oh, that sounds sensational. Okay, I'm going to check it out. And we're going to put these on our show notes as well, so you'll be able to find them there too. And we'll give you the prices and the websites for them as well. So my top pick, this has been with me for years, is a Turkish towel by a Melbourne company called Naughty Towel. What I love about them is I think it was founded by two mums who met their kids were, in the swim squad and stuff. So they were always dealing with towels. They went and sourced them from Turkey. And I believe that they are probably the first people that started bringing Turkish towels into Australia. And they're made from this particular cotton in Turkey, in central Turkey. And they're fantastic. Great colours. They've got candy-coloured ones. They've got white, which sells out all the time, and ecru if you're trying to calm it down. But I think bright on the beach is brilliant.
Agreed.
Yes, and they're a really generous size. Like the originals cost $42, and they just wash and wash and wash and wash, and they just get softer and more fantastic the longer you've got them. And they're really generous size. They're like 1 meter by 1.8. So they're
Wow.
I know that's the smallest of their standard their standard offering, and they are sensational. So take a look for Naughty Towel. There's my top pick.
Fantastic.
You. What's your number 2?
Look, this is a bit of an odd one, so bear with me till I get to the end.
I'm bearing.
I am a coffee fiend, so if you're as addicted to caffeine as I am,
You know I am.
I've become very conscious the last few years of obviously consuming 2 or 3 a day on the go, as we often are, and the impact that the cups and especially the lids have on the environment. So I've become a little bit of a keep cup connoisseur, and fortunately I've been able to whittle it down to one company, Melbourne company called Frank Green, which everyone knows who they are. They have a on-the-go gift set, which would be a really, really good idea for people, not only that travel, but even just in everyday life. It comes with a reusable coffee cup. It also has a reusable straw pack, which again is definitely, I'm not a paper straw person. It has to be solid. So this comes with 2 solid stainless steel straws along with a cleaning pack. And then this little kind of 3-in-1 reusable bag that can be used even as like a small backpack, a tote bag, and a shopping bag. Bit of a weird one, but look, for me, that definitely comes in handy. You can, customize the colors. You can choose different sizes. So, they're really, really good quality cups and everything else. So it's definitely worth checking that out.
And how much are they?
$74.95.
Right.
And then the large one is $79.95. So that's not a big jump to the large pack. You should definitely get the large.
Yeah, because who doesn't love a bucket of coffee?
I know.
We're sounding very Melbourne at this point, aren't we?
Well, I was more going with Italy with the coffee one, but sure.
But this is not the only coffee thing you've got on your list, is it?
No, it's not. I did want to sneak this one in because I've actually traveled with this before and I love it so much.
Okay,
it's from AeroPress. And basically it's a little travel kit so you can make a cup of espresso no matter where you are. All you need is the kit, which has its own little mini filters, some hot water, and obviously some coffee. But if you are in, like I was in Hervey Bay, in a house full of people who love their Blend 43 and International Roast, and I had
friend.
no choice. Well, they were relatives, so I was quite left with no choice but to, bust out the AeroPress and pump out a little shot to get me started before we, everyone kind of lazily got out of bed and made their way to the cafe in town to get some proper coffee.
And I love it.
But definitely good in a pinch.
Okay, so this is your little coffee pack. You've got the Frank Green and Go, and then you've got the AeroPress.
So you can be fully as travel compact with coffee as you can be.
That AeroPress is not expensive either, is it?
No, it is not. And there's that's the travel one. that's enough to pump out just a single espresso shot.
Yeah.
You can get larger ones if you want to do more than that. There's even a larger version that will allow you to pour cold water in it, and it will heat it up.
Right, but so this one, the travel one, is about $35 to $40. Yeah.
Yeah, on Amazon. So we'll have the link to that as well. They also, if you just go to their website, aeropress.com.au, you can also purchase it from there as well.
Fantastic.
What's next for you, Belle?
Oh, well, next, and like all of these things, these are things that we've actually tried. I'm going for the hats, right? So hats, because very sensible. And travel hats are a tricky thing because, well, apart from losing them, which I have actually done, it's the crush factor. If you want to have a great hat, maybe a Panama or something like that, you've got to wear it on the plane, and that always doesn't work, when you're flying out at 3:00 in the morning in winter in Melbourne. So the hat that I've discovered is actually made by a group called Tina M Copenhagen, and this has a particular technology of this flexi braid, which you can just crush into any shape. And I have done this, and this has been at the bottom of my pack, and it pops out looking like a dream. I actually travel with the black Panama, which I love, and if you go into my Instagram, you'll see that I've actually tagged it every time because I just love it. It just adds that little bit of shishi something or other. It's been approved by the Cancer Council, and I just think it's a brilliant product. They so if you go to Tina M Copenhagen, and again we'll put these in the show notes, you'll be able to see the new range, and that has more. It's got some that are a little bit kind of cowboy, a bit rustic, and then some lovely beige and white. But I've gone with the black because I just find it just worked with every single thing.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah, and last time, and I was in Saudi recently, which is where I lost my last one, so I just had to buy a new one. There was another woman there who had one as well, and I did almost rip it off her head. But they're great. They range it about. I was my hat. So that one is currently in the northwest of Saudi Arabia, but you can buy them here online and also in quite a few boutiques as well. It's a really great hat. It's an investment. It's about $65 to $85 for the hats, but you cannot go wrong with them.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm. And go on, tell me what is. So you run through your coffee. You've got your coffee done. You've got fantastic earphones, which I'm going to check out. What's your next one?
My next one is again, this is falling into the odd category.
Love odd. Don't apologize.
Beverages again. So water. So this is called Vapor, Vapur. It is a water bottle, but it is fully collapsible, and it literally folds up to like the size of half of your mobile phone. Also soft plastic. It will fit perfectly in your bag. It actually folds up really, really small, so it'll be really good to fit in your bag. And it has some really cool colors as well, so you're not just done with the old black or clear.
Yeah, right. And it's also it's supposedly spill proof as well, and it's BPA free as well, which is great. And you can stick it in the dishwasher. That's cool.
Yeah, and 4 sizes. So you can definitely, I'd say this is probably more for the hikers out there, which is definitely not me. But, always good to have a reusable water bottle that's not taking up a bunch of room in your bag.
I think it's really good too, because when they're soft plastic like that, they don't rub against your mobile phone or the back of your camera or something like that, and potentially scratch to give everything a scratch. So that's yours. I'm going to slip a recommendation in here because I love luggage. Big luggage fan. I've got all I want under the Christmas tree this year is I'm crushing hard on July luggage, and I am putting the bright red hard sign case on my Christmas list for somebody to buy me. Anybody, send it to me.
Hint, yes.
Oh, yeah, but it has to be in the cherry red, which is the same color as my lipstick, so I will be totally matching on this one.
That sounds fabulous. By the way, I can just picture you walking through the airport. Oh,
I know, right? But what the recommendation is where to buy it from, or to shop your luggage from, and that is from a group based in Sydney called Rush Faster. They founded. Okay, here's a disclaimer. They're founded by friends of mine. I didn't know them at the time, but then they became friends because I did buy a fair bit of luggage from them, and also, your paths just cross and stuff like that. Take a look at rushfaster.com.au. They even have a Facebook page for people that are trading, like if they want to sell their luggage. So if you've got, that old Mandarina duck that you bought years ago that it doesn't fit your luggage needs at the moment, I think it's a great idea because you don't just sling it and somebody else goes, oh my goodness, I love Mandarina duck too. And you can get it on a discount. So I think they've got a really great ethos. So take a look at Rush Faster. And that is going back to you for your last recommendation on our Christmas list.
yes. My last one is from Belroy. Now they have, I sneakily did two things here because I think there's two things that everyone needs when traveling. The first is their digital nomad set. It is $139. It does have a laptop sleeve available in the 14 or 16 inch. I can honestly say, hand on heart, this is the only laptop sleeve that I've ever used that does actually protect your laptop. It has a magnetic clasp at the end, so there's no zipping or unzipping, and it also, you can get it in the same color as their bag, so everything can match, which of course I have done. That also comes with a tech kit, and I cannot tell you if, like me, you have several devices, all which require multiple cords and things like that. The tech kit is just the most organized way to have everything together in one little pack, so you don't just throw everything in a bag and have a mess of cables everywhere.
And that's a zip-up case, right?
It is, yeah. And same thing, it comes in, the colors that will match the laptop sleeve. And then if you want to, and this is probably something that I've used all year, it's called the Venture Sling. So it is a sling bag that goes over your shoulder. I take this literally everywhere. I take it to work. I take it on weekends. When I go anywhere, all of my stuff goes in this bag.
So it's basically a man bag, right?
Essentially, yeah. But
I bought this one. I bought this for my husband last Christmas, and it's awesome because it's a cool brand, Belroy. It's super cool. And you're not looking like you've got the same fake Gucci one as everybody else.
Exactly. And if you don't want to fill it with stuff, and walk onto the plane with it, it's, small enough to fit neatly in your luggage. And just the way it feels, the zip, like it does feel really premium. And I can say that it is waterproof. And I'm just putting it out there, if you accidentally spill half a choc top all over it.
I thought you were going to say half a bottle of wine.
Oh no, we don't waste that. It does easily just wipe off for the outside and the inside as well. So it is really, really durable as well. And again, they come in all of the fantastic colors that Belroy have.
Yeah.
It just looks fantastic. So I love Belroy so much. I wish they would do luggage if they're listening.
Please do luggage.
I'd buy it.
I'd totally buy it because I actually bought a laptop case from Belroy in the Black Friday sales, and
fantastic.
It's this gorgeous mustardy color, and it's made from recycled materials as well.
Yeah.
Being, a Melbourne company. God, we're so Melbourne, aren't we? I'm okay with it. I'm totally okay with it. It looks great. I love it. I just give it little hugs when I walk past it, And I'm going to go into my last product now. Okay, this is right. It's technically not travel, but it's kind of got a travel application in it. It is a face mask. Stay with me here. It is an Outback mud face mask called Plendy, which is Plendi. So Plendy, has got loads of gorgeous Australian botanicals in there, and it's got it like it's vegan, it's cruelty free. They donate 20% of their profits to different charities, and it does everything that it exfoliates, it decongests, it brightens everything. I just like the fact that when you put it on, you kind of feel like you've just gone into outback Australia, and that's where the travel bent comes from with it. So,
Sounds amazing.
yeah, it is. I gave it a try. I gave it a test run. It really did sort of brighten up my face, and I had that, I had that Central Australian moment, because it's a lot of those botanics come from the desert regions.
Yeah.
It's quite strong. I wouldn't leave it on for a long time, but I did not. I looked maybe a year or two younger. I did not knock 15 years off it, and for that I have to take a half a point. I have to take a half a point off it, but also the packaging is 100% recyclable, and so yeah, it's gorgeous. I think having Australian products that are made from Australian things and made in Australia really is going to, because it's only going to give our beauty industry a big boost. So Plendi, Plendi, for this clay mask.
Sounds fantastic.
There you go. Okay, so that is that everything? Have you got your wish list all spelt out? We've got AeroPresses, we've got Frank Green cups, we've got everything that Bill Roy ever created, fabulous headphones. I've given you a towel, and I've given you a hat that will not only make you look fabulous, but stop you from getting skin cancer on your nose. Is there anything more that you want for Christmas?
I think it sounds like with that, you'd be ready for all of your travel in 2024.
I love the sound of those lightweight towels from Turkey. They come in such beautiful colours too. Maybe Santa will bring me one.
You still believe in Santa, though. But all we want for Christmas this year is for you, the listener, to hit that subscribe button and recommend our podcast to your fellow travel-loving friends.
And if you'd like to help support our production costs, you can go to coffee.com, which is ko-fi.com/theworldawaits, and buy us a coffee.
That's a wrap for The World Awaits this week. Click to subscribe anywhere you listen to your favourite pods. And where can people find you, Kirstie?
I'm at Kirstie Writes on Instagram. That's KIRSTIE Writes, WRITES. And where can people find you, Belle?
You can find me at globalsalsa.com or on Insta at global_salsa.
Thanks for listening. See you next week.